So if I succeed with my talk today, I would hope that all of you guys don't want to be sustainable anymore. And I know this is a weird thing to say, but bear with me, all right? I will probably break some paradigms today. I call you guys and people like us, let's say, paradisians, because we're basically all here to create a better world. Not just a better world, but ideally the ideal world, right? So if you're in here because of that, then please make yourself known. Yes? All right, good, then let's dive into it. So by now, with deforestation and floodings and what supposedly is climate change and whatnot, we realize that we're not on a good trajectory as humanity, right? As global humanity. Obviously, I think there's exceptions within that. But when we're seeing these pictures, obviously, when we're realizing, there's a Fed printing fiat currency, when we realize there is, chemtrails in the air, when we realize there is mass manipulation of the weather systems and whatnot, we realize we're not necessarily on the best trajectory. But as a solution, we're being told that we should become sustainable, right? Who here would like to be sustainable? So if I succeed with my talk today, I would hope that all of you guys don't want to be sustainable anymore. So because sustainability has a problem, okay? The problem with it is that it's virtually impossible to reach sustainability via trying to reduce our negative impact. There's a focus on trying to reduce our negative impact to zero, which, can you show me anybody in here that has zero negative impact in the world? I doubt it. I doubt it, even him. Does he have a phone? Does he have a car? He's not sustainable. None of that is. But there is a way to get beyond sustainable, all right? And I'll explain that in a second. So basically, sustainability by the paradigm of reducing our negative impact only works if we reduce 100% of all what we do to zero, and if 100% of humanity would do that. Not just the 3 to 5% conscious humanity might have, but all of them, all right? So this is a quote you might probably all familiar with one of my favorite inspirations. Buckminster Fuller said once that you can never change things by fighting the existing reality. You need to create a new system or new model that replaces the old one by making the old one obsolete. So here's that new paradigm. So the new paradigm basically is called net positivity. Anybody here has heard about net positivity yet? So there's the existing paradigm, which we call sustainability, which is basically the idea of sustaining the status quo for as long as possible. That's where the root of the word comes from, to sustentare, which is Latin for drag something out. So what is net positivity? It's essentially the idea of creating more positive impact than you create negative impact. You realize that there's two sides of the coin. It's not just reducing negative impact, but you can actually also actively, amazingly create positive impact. This is why I can confidently say it's better than sustainability. It's what we call in game theory a dominant strategy, because it does everything that sustainability does. It does reduce the impetus of net positivity is still to reduce your negative impact. No question about that. Once you realize that you can have positive impact, you can actually create that, and the net impact that you create between the negative and the positive, that's actually the one that you leave here on this planet, right? So sustainability basically tells you implicitly, it says you're the problem. You're creating the problem. You're all creating the problem. And also, what you should do, and it's the only thing that you can do, is reduce your impact. And net positivity is exactly the other thing. It's exactly the other side of the spectrum. It says you're the solution. You can create the solution. You are actually totally capable of creating positive change. And what you should be doing is not minimizing yourself, like become a carbon-free future, right? But actually, you should maximize the impact that you can have. Just make sure it's positive, right? So this is the core difference. This is fear. This is love. Instead of it costing you money to become sustainable, you should make money by becoming net positive. And I'll give you an example for how that works. Reduce, reuse, recycle when it comes to plastic, right? That's what we heard 1,000 times. Reduce, reuse, recycle, reduce. And how many people here probably would have thought, great, yeah, it's a great idea. Sure, we should reduce the plastic. Who here knows that we only have about a recycling rate of about 10%? That means 10% of all plastic in the world actually gets recycled. Most of it just goes into a landfill sooner or later. And if you recycle it once, you just give it another chance to land in landfill. It's not working, okay? And Now, what does net positivity say in regards to plastic? It says, eliminate more than you create, right? So he'll give you an example how that works. So what a pyrolysis plant does, or pyrolysis does as a process, is basically putting plastic in an anaerobe environment, the right kind of plastic. Like you need to have a very sophisticated pyrolysis plant to be able to do most plastics, but you can start with this. And the point is, it eliminates plastic by turning it into fuel. This means that you have, first, you have garbage in form of plastic, and then you have none of that. So you eliminated it, it's gone forever. There's no degradation over hundreds or thousands of years until it becomes microplastic, goes into the water, gives you cancer or whoever, right? It is actually eliminated. Yeah, so I'll give you an example for net positive business, right? So do you see these two bottles? The left bottle is a conventional plastic bottle, right? You buy that plastic bottle, and you will have contributed to the creation of one more piece of plastic in the world. So it says this bottle basically has a net negative impact in the world. And then we have a net positive bottle. And as you see, they look fairly similar because they might actually be the exact same bottle. They don't have to be, but they could be. And what this bottle does, something very interesting. At the purchase of this bottle, you are kicking off a process of 10 bottles being taken out of the ecosystem and being eliminated. All right? So when that happens, that bottle basically is responsible, and you, by extension, because you bought that bottle, right? You have caused 9 less bottles in the world to exist, all right? So now, show of hands. Who would like to buy the right bottle? Everybody. Great. That's awesome. So now, but which bottle are you going to buy? Right? That depends on price. It doesn't depend just on the ideal, right? It is way better bottle for sure, but it's not necessarily the one that you're going to buy because there's a price, right? But there's something which I call the banana point, which is that what happened in Germany with organic bananas, is when the price comes down sufficiently, there's a point where basically everybody decides, let's go with the net positive bottle. It makes more sense, right? So if this one is $3, $1, most people go here. But if it's like 150, 1, or 125, 1, 110, 1, 1.5, 1, then people would do it already. But here's the ultimate banana point, right? An ultimate banana point is when they're worth the same. So when this one costs $1 and this one costs $1, something very, very interesting happens. The left one just becomes obsolete out of nowhere. It just becomes obsolete, just like the quote by Mr. Fuller. So when you do that, you realize, well, you just have to put it to the same price. So how could we ever do that? Because this is net positive, right? Well, we make money turning into eliminating the plastic. We don't lose money doing that. We actually make money because we can sell the fuel, right? So this one actually, the right one actually costs you less to produce. So you actually have a competitive advantage over the conventional bottle. This is the power of net positivity, okay? Doing this, we can actually make any product that is currently not net positive can be replaced by a product that is net positive, looks exactly the same, just is net positive, right? Using these paradigms. And it's a lot more complicated once you go to a car or an airplane or something like that. But I'm still just showing the paradigm, right? So for this, we have created a consultancy. It's called Net Positive Partner. I am working with a lot of very beautiful people. And we are already consulting, for instance, the city of Munich on this kind of stuff to create net positive power plants and net positive fertilizing plants and stuff like that. Basically what this does, what the consulting does, first of all, it helps people to figure out how to become net positive. It actually helps them to do the actual impact, because not everybody can have a pyrolysis plant in the back pocket. And then it also certifies. So if you have, let's say, a company that produces plastic, or somebody that has a company that produces plastic, they can come to us. We can help them achieve plastic positivity, and then we can certify it to them. And then they have an edge on the marketplace. Right, so now I want to show you a little bit about the net positive village. What is a net positive village? Basically, it is combining all of those areas that make up a village, like architecture, business, agriculture, commerce, community, and there's also another one called energy up there. And if you combine all of those things into one location, like net positive living, net positive health, net positive ways of creating food, then you're basically creating a net positive village. That's what we're doing in Pátzcuaro. Because why? Because it's actually the city of utopia. And for some reason, that's where we got drawn to. So the net positive village, you can imagine it like a refuge for conscious humanity. right? So it's a place where you can live with other conscious beings and together create a blueprint for a net positive society or a future human society that is already net positive, right? So how does net positivity relate to paradise? Is basically if you have a closed system and you constantly improve it, hence you constantly create net positive change, it will sooner or later become ideal, right? Ideal being paradise. So you can basically imagine us coming together there, and instead of going down the hippie route where we don't have money, instead of we're looking to create money, not through tiny little businesses, but actually through very highly profitable net positive businesses. We realize that net positive business is actually the solution, because the more net positive business is successful, the more money you make, the better the world gets. Doesn't mean that business by design is net negative. It can be made net positive. And so what we're looking to achieve here is to create an environment where we live in freedom, abundance, and net positivity. These are like the three core values of this project. So I'm just going to go over these faster. Net positive business basically means that we realize that abundance is actually what we should be aiming for. We shouldn't be aiming for self-sufficiency. I'll give you a better concept. Self-abundance, right? We shouldn't be aiming, yeah, absolutely. We shouldn't be aiming for, this is just, we've been programmed to think that sustainability is the answer. It isn't. We shouldn't become auto-sustainable. We should become auto-abundant, right? And this is the real solution to it. And by becoming actually really good at business and net positive business, we can attract all the funds, all the people, we can actually model for the rest of humanity how a future humanity that is just making the previous one obsolete, how we live. We live in a beautiful house surrounded by a food forest garden, and we run an amazing business, or we have time to laugh and to come together and to dance and to do cool things, to travel, then we're going to inspire other people. We're not going to inspire them by living in a hut out of garbage somewhere because we just want to back to the Stone Age or something. Nobody's going to follow us there. Agriculture, I know we had talked about this, so I don't really want to go too deep into this, but basically, regenerative agriculture is a thing. Syntropic agroforestry is a thing. It's a net positive practice. You create food while you're actually enhancing the ecosystem. So you're enhancing your own health because you're eating healthy food, nutritious food, right? That's a net positive practice. Net positive commerce basically would mean, as we start creating these projects and we turn our projects net positive, so we make net positive products, we should have a place where we can come together and basically commerce with these, like buy and sell net positive goods and services so that you can have a net positive lifestyle. Because right now, if you buy something off Amazon, you're not really causing the world to be better than it was before. We can create a lifestyle where we literally, through our existence and through our consumption, we actually improve the world. Is whether the impact of your consumption is positive or negative that makes it true or not, right? So one of the key pieces here is we just combine healthy, useful resources into piles of things that cannot be used anymore, and then we call it waste. But there's technologies such as these inside of the village that help us to become plastic positive, that help us to become climate positive, because climate also, just to realize, there is two parts to climate, right? There is a non-human made part to climate, which is the sun is just hotter than it used to be. And then the second part to it is that we actually do what I call ecocide. I mean, with chemical farming, with pesticides to our soils, that kind of stuff, we're actually actively looking to kill the planet. So if we stop that and we would, instead of that, engage in net positive practices, to become climate positive, the main thing that we need to do is to regenerate the soil's capacity to retain water. So anyways, the point is we put these technologies in such villages, right? And then there's a way to create net positive architecture as well. But also we need to realize, and this might break your mind again, but concrete is not really that evil. First of all, concrete is releasing CO2 in the atmosphere, so that's not a bad thing. But even if you were to think that CO2 in the atmosphere is a bad thing, concrete can be made climate positive by saying, all right, I'm going to put so much CO2 out, but I'm also going to plant so many trees or sequestrate so much CO2 more than I put out, hence I'm net positive. Anyway, so we have created a net positive by design. It's actually fairly concrete-free building system that's called Refugee Co. Not really have it in the slides yet, but If you watch that presentation, there's a presentation, like an hour-long presentation on this website. You can actually find out more about the Net Positive Village. So who are we, you know? So what we should be doing is to realize that we are all basically here to create the ideal world. People from all walks of life. There's people that are lawyers, that are teachers, that are educators, that are healers, there are warriors amongst us. There's all kinds of people. And basically what we are conscious humanity, right? And we come together and we create a system that, instead of being degenerative, is actually beyond regenerative. Is positive in all of its ways. It just makes the world prosper and become abundant. And this is what we call the Paradise Syndicate. You know, you guys are paradisians. You're the guys to lead the way towards the ideal world. If we all were to join forces and we realized, we not just realized, if we worked together on the questions, how do we get to the ideal versus how do we escape the thing that's not working, then we're actually joining forces to create abundance together, to create beauty together. And we're creating something which is a uniting paradigm. Join the Paradise Syndicate. Go to paradisesyndicate.com, sign up there. There's a network we're just creating, basically kind of like a social network for conscious humanity, where we can all come together and share each other's knowledge and also learn from each other, and more importantly, help each other to become highly abundant, because that's what we are here to be.